Welcome back, guys. We are going to be changing the oil today in the 325, and apologize for not having any videos lately. Just needed to get a bunch of stuff done and didn't really have time to record a lot, so just a little update here. We got the 325. It's still running. There's a pink pipe bumper on the front now. Put that on there because we got some snow and decided we wanted to go drifting, and figured that was the safest option to not destroy the front of the car. So we did that, and I ended up hitting a deer and it dented the fender there a little bit. But anyway, we went ahead and roughly fixed some rust on the quarter panel there, and over here we fixed all the holes in the floor and got all the carpet in. Got the carpet in and everything. Just haven't got the whole interior put back together 100% quite yet, but we're working on it. And we got some new tail lights. Got some new tail lights in the rear, so those are looking good, working good and everything. And we got marker lights in the front, and both of the new headlights are in. Not great, but they work. I don't like them. I'd like to get some new ones, but not quite yet. We'll get there. But yes, we are going to change the oil in it. It's not very old, but we beat the shit out of this car, so it needs it. So we're going to change the oil and we'll get right into it. So we are going to change the oil in the BMW 325xi today, my black car. And here are some things that you're going to need. First of all, I recommend gloves so you don't get oil all over your hands, because you'll probably make a mess. You're going to need a 17mm for the drain bolt. And what I run is 1540 conventional oil. Yes, it's for diesel engines and heavy duty stuff, but let's face it, we beat the crap out of these cars. They need heavy oil. So some of you might say that's stupid, some might agree. I don't really care. That's what I like, and it proves itself pretty well. But you can get some oil stabilizer too, and that seems to help pretty well. And you're going to want to get some brake clean, because you want to clean everything up before you put it back together, because old oil on everything is not good. You don't want that, especially if you're changing it. Kind of makes it pointless, you think. But anyway, we are going to get started with changing the oil. Right now we're just getting all of that old oil out of there. We don't want any of that old oil in there. We want to make sure everything's all nice and clean. You can see that's soaked up a lot. Just throw that right there in the container. We'll leave those in there to soak everything up. We are going to raise the car up here and get the oil draining out. As you can see, we got the drain plug here, and just a little update on the underneath here. I went ahead and cleaned the whole underneath of the car up and painted it, and then rubberized, undercoated the whole thing. Painted the subframe, painted the diff, whole 9 yards. Still have the straight pipe on here. The police are loving it, to say the least. So we're gonna hear, fuck's sake, we're gonna hear. That doesn't even make sense, but anyway. So we are going to start draining the oil out of this. You will need a 17 millimeter. Go right there on that. And that's an aftermarket drain bolt, but I do believe all the stock ones are 17 millimeter as well. So anytime that you need to change your oil on your E46, it will be a 17 millimeter. And I'm looking for a ratchet right now. But anyway, we will loosen up the drain bolt, get it all nice and loose, and then spin it off. You usually don't want that mess, but you know, that happens sometimes. So, while that oil's draining, we're gonna run into town and we're gonna go get some new oil, and we're gonna get some new filters and everything. And we'll go get a couple cans of brake clean. That way we can clean the oil housing up and the drain bolt and everywhere around, so everything's all clean for when we put it back together, and get some new oil in it. So we got the oil draining here. It's been draining for about half an hour and it's still dripping, so we're gonna continue to let it drip and come out of there because I want it all out. But anyway, it's not too bad, but it's due for a change. So now we are going to clean up around the drain bolt. So we got some leaking oil here. Just clean it up a little bit. We'll get a paper towel and we'll wipe it all off. Just clean up around that area. Want to make sure we get all the excess oil and debris out of there. Want it as clean as possible. Want to make sure we have no issues. So got a nice clean area now. All the old oil is out of there. We got the drain bolt. We have it all cleaned up. We're gonna send that puppy back in. Then we will come back over here to the bench. We'll grab our 3/8 ratchet and our 17 mil. Put that on there. Bear with me here. And we'll tighten it up. Nice and snug. Now you don't want to over torque those because they will snap, and that's just something we don't want. But luckily, if they do snap, the centers of the threads are hollow, so you can get an easy out inside of that real nice and easy, because ask me how I know. Yeah, we snapped one off before, but it wasn't too bad to get out with an easy out. So now that we have the car down and everything, we are going to take our filter here, and we are going to put that baby right inside here. Make sure it's all nice and seated. Got our filter there. Then we'll come here. We have our new O-ring. for the housing and a new crush washer. We're going to pull the old O-ring off of the housing. I guess I could probably do that with the filter out. But we'll pull this old O-ring out. Just do it nice and easy like that. Simple as that. Now what I like to do is get a little bit of oil here. We'll open this up. I like to get a little dab of oil. Put oil on this ring, so when you put it on, you don't rip it or damage it in any way. So make sure it's all nice and lubricated. And we'll just gently work its way down into its seat. Now just like that, you'll see it has its little seat there. It's all nice and seated. And we'll go behind here and put the filter back on. Now that we are back over here at the car, we will pull out these paper towels that are soaking up all that old oil. As you can see, they're nice and saturated, and it's all nice and clean in there now. So we're gonna take a little bit of oil. We're gonna put some new oil in there just to kind of prime it up a little bit. Then we will plop our filter down in there real nicely. We'll start threading it down on there. And if you don't have the BMW tool, these work. They're not the greatest for it, but they work. And you just keep tightening this down until it's seated just like that. You don't want to make it too tight, but you want to make sure it doesn't come out. So these motors, they call for about 7 quarts of oil, and there's 4 quarts in here. So I buy 2 of them and then some, just so I have some extra. But we'll just go ahead and start filling it up. Now, some of you might need to use a funnel. I practice this pretty commonly, so I don't always have to use a funnel. But sometimes I still make a mess, don't get me wrong. Now, this is an option here. This is Lucas Heavy Duty Oil Stabilizer. It's always been preached to me to put this in your engines because helps it out, helps it last a little bit longer, and helps keep everything how it should be. In this case, I'm not going to use the whole quart because we're already using 1540 in it, and that's pretty thick, and this stuff, as you can see, is like honey, so it's really thick. So I don't want to use too much of it. So that looks to be about good. I try to do it in between putting all the quarts in, so it kind of mixes in together a little bit and helps it blend. But we'll see how much is that. Now we will let that settle, and then we will put the dipstick in and see how much is in there, and we'll crank it over a few times, get the oil filter all primed up, make sure the oil's all where it needs to be, and then we'll do a final check, and if it's good, we'll leave it alone. If it needs more, we'll add some more. Well guys, we ended up not having to put any more oil in it. Everything was all good and it checked out. I went ahead and started it up, ran it for a little bit, let it get up to temp. run all the oil in all of its nooks and crannies. But anyway, it's running good and everything's all set and we're good to go. So that is how to change the oil in a BMW 325xi with the M54 motors in it. So we will catch you on the next one. And just so everybody knows, this is what not to do when you're trying to fill up your jugs, your empty jugs with old oil so you can get them properly disposed, aka burnt. But yeah, you definitely gotta pay attention a little bit more when you are running the air pressure through that, because it builds a lot of excess air pressure inside the drum, and then you're pretty well effed in the A once you get it there. And this is what happens. You just make a huge mess of oil on the floor. And it works out pretty not greatly. So learn from this. Here's round 2 of me making another mess, doing the same exact thing. I mean, it's kind of hard to judge, but anyway, made another mess, but we'll clean it up. It won't be a big deal, but probably gonna have to find some more buckets to empty this into, but we'll figure it out and keep you posted if I keep making more messes.